Paintball nerd.
Today's guest on Paintball Nerds Fun 5 started playing paintball in 1985. He went pro in 1991 with Constant Pursuit and immediately joined the Ironmen in 1992. He played with him throughout his whole career until 1998 after they won the World Championship with Bob Long, and then took a little retirement. And in 2019, he formed the OG Ironmen, is their current captain, and they play the 10-man events. He just got off a second place win at the WCPL. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, the legendary Dirk Gadberry. What's up, Dirk?
How's it going?
Good, man. Dude, I remember the first time I ever got exposed to Dirk Gadberry. I think I was watching Sunday Drivers, and you guys were playing in the woods, and you're like, G3, gotta love it. That was you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was not bragging, but I was definitely one of the loudest guys on the field.
You still are.
Any given time. Yeah, still are. Yeah.
Yeah, and from there, I dove into Dale Price's YouTube channel, and he's got a ton of old Ironman footage and has a ton of videos of you on there.
Yeah, and PPL stuff.
Yeah. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool to play with these original Ironman guys. Because I remember, when I was younger on Dave's Ironman, Ironman, Shane used to tell me stories. Like Dirk used to have like this shaved head and his goatee, and he would just look at the other team, and they thought they were convinced that they were going to die if they stepped on the field. Like they had already lost because all the guys, and you specifically, just look so intimidating.
Yeah.
So Shane used to tell me these stories, and I still hadn't met you yet. I didn't meet you until I got the opportunity to play with you guys in, I think it was 2021 at the Old Bay Classic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It was a different time in the 90s, I mean, I shaved the head, not because I wanted to. It was a genetic thing. But I shaved the head early on when I was joined the Ironman, and Bobby was rocking the goatee, so I was thinking, hey, I'll put that combination together. But it was a different era, man. I mean, people just didn't do that, So I remember coming home, my mom was scared, But yeah, those stories are true. I mean, there was a story with Shaner and Opie in Nashville, Tennessee. We're sitting at a table, and he's over there bullshitting with him, and he comes over and nudges me and says, "Go along with it." And he basically tells him a story that Opie's asking, where'd this guy come from? What the heck? What's this all about? And he told him I just got out of prison. Straight to the paintball field. And I stared him down and said, "What the hell are you looking at, kid?" You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of that stuff going on. We had fun, but there was a lot of teams we beat them before we even got on the field, just mentally.
Gosh.
So yeah.
What was it like, Dirk? I mean, to play with, for you, it's just like your teammates. Like these are your teammates, but for the majority of the professional paintball community, these are legends. Like you played with the founders of paintball. You're one of them. So, I don't know if you're going to be able to verbalize this, but I'm going to make you try. What was it like?
I was blessed. I was blessed. It was incredible. I was also blessed to be in an area where paintball was revolutionizing. We revolutionized the sport. We revolutionized the equipment. California in general, but Northern California was just a stomping ground for a ton of teams. It was incredible. And that's where the Ironmen sharpened their teeth. Everybody knew around here that they were the team to beat. They were sharpening their teeth, and they went out and played. I think that the tournament they won was an ASG 5-man in 1990. That was like the first one where they just kind of They just kind of dominated people. And they came back right after that in 91 and just was winning like 5 tournaments straight in a row. So everybody knew they were the team to beat. And I had a predator team here in Sacramento, and it kind of started to diffuse. So I went to the second team, and I was always a good player, man. I was good. I was solid. I give everybody a good run. But it's cast and crew, it's what you got around you. So I started playing on the second team, and I was basically, somebody that was going against the first team all the time. And I was always one of those tough guys to get out and shooting as many of them as I could before I went. And when I got the call, it was incredible. The first practice that I went out and actually played alongside with those guys, my game elevated like tenfold, because now I was surrounded by, 9 other guys that at any given time they would just go off and explode. So it wasn't about worrying about plugging holes and being down on numbers. All it was about was, how can I get into their line and do as much damage as possible every single game. And it changes your mindset. You can put away a lot of the normal, other things that you had to think about during a paintball game and narrow it down right to to an art. It was fun, man. It was fun. These guys were incredible. Every single one of them was a good player. Us together, it allowed everybody to elevate their individual game, and having Phyllis and Bob running the team, it took all the stress off of everything. It was incredible.
Who was on that squad? That original squad with Phyllis and Bob Long, as who we're talking about, of course.
Yeah.
Just for the audience.
So Brian, Benini, Shane, Pastana, Daryl Trent, Clayton, Marty Bush, myself, Bob. Who else met? Jamie Canavero.
J-Man.
Yeah, J-Man. Solid as a rock. Then we had a few bounce in, Scotty. Alexander was on the very first squad. All of those guys. And later on, let's see, Rick was on it at first. Michael Baird. Then we had, through the years, I had what was the hairdresser down south? Eric Felix. He came on later on. Yeah. We didn't change a lot of players through the years. It might be one player per season, but the main group of it, they kept that chemistry. So.
And a lot of those players are still active today.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of them are.
And they're legends. They're captains of industry,
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because a lot of the people that run the industry today are all from Northern California, from California,
Yep.
a lot. This area was so good and produced so many good players that teams went out and moved and hired players from around here. Danny Love, Saransky.
Yep.
They had to.
Mare Island, right?
Mare Island, Sacramento, Paintball Sam's. Felton was down by Santa Cruz. That was a field in the Redwoods. Carpet Bob's field. Those are the 4 main fields that we play at. Yeah.
Yeah. NorCal's like the birthplace of it's like the mecca of paintball legends.
At the time, exactly. Yeah. Before that, it was a little more scattered around the country. But yeah, I would say about 87, 88, we started having tournaments around here, and it just exploded. It just exploded. There was I can't name how many teams there were in this area. Ed Pavlok. Oh, remember O Pavlok. They owned Paintball Sam's in Sacramento, and they had, I think it was an 8-man tournament series, but they had an 8-man tournament series, and there were several other tournaments in the area. And that's how it kind of all started. There was just a ton of teams. The autococker came out, and that was thrown in the mix, and everybody was doing everything they could to move that forward. Yeah, honestly, the RAM regulator, that whole system was basically, I got to give props to Glenn Palmer here in Sacramento, because he built basically the first one on a Sheridan, and that evolved into, his products and also into Bud's autococker, what I'm saying? The idea of it anyways. So, and it's all from Northern California. It's all right here, right where I live. So it was incredible, man. It was an incredible time. It's not just the Ironman. It was the environment, Northern California at that time. It was the environment. There was a whole lot of contributing factors to Ironman success.
Yeah, it was just a fertile environment for growth in paintball.
Absolutely.
So you guys absolutely dominated everything from 92 to 98.
Yeah.
So what happened? How did Dave Youngblood get involved with the Ironman and eventually take over the name from Bob Long? Like, how did that go down?
Well, he was brought on the team. He was brought on the team because of our sponsors. Yeah, I mean, he's a good player.
What year was this?
Don't get me wrong. I'll give him props, but it was because of JT. He played on several other teams. Black Diamonds, Tour de Force, I believe. But anyways, there were several other teams that he was on, but we were like the number one team for JT, and John Gregory was he was pushing out his motocross lines of stuff and going towards paintball, and wanted to make it colorful and, the stadium type stuff, and was moving in that direction. And we were the showcase team, and he was a rep for the team. So he wanted his rep, and he wanted Dave, which was a big figurehead in the sport, to be on the team. So it was an agreement. It wasn't exactly like me, where I practiced and played and everything else. I mean, he was a good player, but there was also that industry part of it also that went with it.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and as far as taking over the team, I don't want to get into nasty stuff and disrespect people and all that stuff. I love everybody. What happened. I love all these guys. It just change happens. You know what I'm saying? It went a direction, and we had a lot of people on the team that were paintball was their business. Brahim. I had a machine shop. I made stuff. Bob had all his stuff. Dave had all of his stuff that he was doing with dye and the barrels and all that stuff. So there was that tension that came along with it, and we also hit a streak there where we were always in the finals, but we might not have got as many first places as some would like, and also probably some thought that there should be a little more attention to the team and not so much, some of these other side businesses and these other things that were going on. So I think that's kind of how it, people just wanted to start kind of going in their own direction, I guess. So
interesting.
Yeah. There was a lot to it, and I understand it and I get it, but that's so what Dave happened.
He became the captain, and then Bob was like, well, I'm the captain. This is my team. And even though
I don't think he was the captain at the time. Dave wasn't the captain until basically until the team did a split. You know what I'm saying?
And the split was Bobby was asked to step down.
Yes. Yeah.
And he took guys with him.
No, he didn't take anybody with him. Yeah.
Wow.
At the time, what I recall was there was a group. It's like anything else, any sport. Groups start to separate. In amongst the team itself, or the business, or the group, or whatever it is. And this group wants to go a different direction, and this group wants to go. You know what I'm saying? Gets a little bit cliquey, I guess. There was a group forming. It was going a certain direction. You kind of feel it a little bit, but I didn't, at the time, I didn't really see it, hindsight, but basically what I remember is that myself and Daryl Trent were like the last guys to be asked, they had this plan, and we were a couple of the last guys that they asked, because we were probably, some of the older guys and more loyal to Bob.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, Bobby might just be done. He might just. It's kind of devastating, to be asked to step down. I thought maybe he just stepped down as a player. You don't know all the details. You don't know everything that's going on. You're kind of a middle guy. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But my thought was he probably just give it up and walk away. So I kind of went with the direction of least resistance. You know what I'm saying? At the time, I went with Dave, and where the team was going to go. Basically, they were going to ask him to step down. If I do it all over again, I think I would have just retired then. I only played one more year after that. You know what I'm saying? Only played one more year. It was kind of the end of the road. People had different visions, and I just wanted to play. And play with the same family that I've been playing with for years. So, to do it over again, I think I just would have stepped away and retired, or went and played for somebody else. It would have made it easier. Not so personal.
Well, now you've got your son Dylan that you play with, and Jamie, and you've got you brought the OG Ironman.
Yeah, Garrett.
And that was
Michael
2019,
Baird,
right?
What's that? Yeah, 19. Absolutely.
So you got Michael Baird and Little Baird. I'm not sure if he still plays, if he
he's doing an XL thing right now, but he'll always be an Ironman.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to create the OG Ironman in 2019?
What it was just that this whole mechanical thing was coming back. I started, because I'm out there retired, and you still look around. You go on social media. You check out what's going on. I'm sitting here getting fat on the couch. I want to get some exercise. So, Dan Bocci with the paintball history, he hits me up with a couple of emails wanting to know, I got this gun, I got this, did you build this? People start coming around, the juices start flowing. I see more guys playing pump, down south. Micah McLaughlin shows up over my house one day, and I was just like, I want to get off the couch and pick up a pump gun and go out and play for fun, and get some exercise. And it's like anything else, man. I don't do stuff just for fun. There's too much competitive DNA in my body. So that's the way it started. My son's like, oh, I want to come out and play, and so we go out and play, and it just evolves. It just evolves. More and more players are playing mechanical. Now all of a sudden there's a tournament here in town. It's like, what the hell? Let's get the band back together and give it a run at it.
It worked out for me, because that's when I got onto mechanical.
Yeah.
I wanted to get off the couch too. It was around COVID time, and I was just playing at Velocity Paintball, and I worked at Push with Brian Benini, and he's like, why don't you hit up Dirk? I'm like, I don't know Dirk, dude. He's like a legend, and I'm just like, he doesn't even know who I am, Like none of those guys know who I am. I'm not gonna ask him. And I think he might have asked you, or Chris. Did Brian ask you?
Yeah, Brian hit me up.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Brian got me an opportunity to play with my old heroes, and we had a blast at. I think the first event I played with you was Maryland in
Mm-hmm.
2001, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what did you
Impressive,
think?
dude. You're a good player.
You're like who's this weirdo hitting me up like wanting to play on the Ironman?
Yeah. Anytime, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean I got my jersey. Oh, you can't see it anymore, but I got my jersey back there. But it was special because my career's been with Dave's Ironman. I guess we
Right.
call him LA Ironman,
All
you
right.
know, but ingrained within me is the history from the stories that Shaner has told me about
Right.
you and J-Man and like the old Ironman. So it's like, even though there's segregation, there's different there's varying degrees of Ironman, or there's different iterations of it.
Right.
They're all tied together.
It all comes back.
Certainly it all comes back.
Absolutely.
So absolute pleasure for me to be able to play with you guys, man. It was amazing.
It's fun. Yeah. And anytime, buddy.
Thanks,
Anytime. I
man.
don't plan on hanging up my gun anytime soon. So we're going to keep doing this in, one form or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dirk, you've had some amazing memories. You won a ton of events. I mean, you've been in paintball since its inception. Tell us
Yeah.
about a memory that really sticks out for you in paintball.
A memory. I would say probably the highlight memory for me is winning the it's either 94 or 95. This just came up recently too on social media. Mayhem Masters over in England, and it was a monster tournament. We went over there the year before, and in the final game, deciding game, got beat up by the Predators, UK Predators, just hands down. So we took second place, and that was just tough. That was tough to take, extremely difficult. Yeah. And they're huge events, man. I mean, these events. I don't know if you ever get an opportunity to go play these big events, these paintball events when they do in Europe, even X Ball, whatever. I mean, they pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
So we went back, did our thing, and the following year we hit it again, and completely different outcome. Same scenario, same thing, playing against the Predators in the finals. For everything, and we just stomped them. Yeah.
Redemption.
Yeah. And the game was incredible. It was probably one of the better. The game I can just relive, over and over and over again. But it was yeah. It was fun. It was they definitely got the better side of the field. There was a creek bed running perpendicular to the field, and they're in the creek bed, just lined in it, and our part of the field is on the left hand side. There's some logs up around the 50, I would say, and a little bit of cover, and then the rest of the field is just kind of a flat plateau of random trees. It's just open, and these guys are just sitting in there long balling us. You can't do a damn thing. Brian works up over on that left hand side over there in that log, and we kind of talked about it. That's the thickest area. We could probably push over there if we've got to at the end of the game. We can get, that's where we can get to the closest. So Brian, naturally, he gets up over there, as close as he can. And the guys are kind of stacked up over that side and kind of know, everybody kind of has a feeling that's where it's going to happen. So I'm going back across the field. Daryl's going back and forth across the field. And I'm right in the middle of it. And I get down on my knees and get down really low. And I kind of notice that the ground has kind of got a low spot, it's kind of below their horizon over there in that ditch. So I just laid on the ground and started crawling. And this field, I can't tell you how far I crawled. It seemed like an eternity, 40 yards, 30 yards. And you're wide open. There's nothing there. But you're just low enough that they can't see it. So I get about halfway out there, and then Daryl starts calling. We had crawl codes for individual players and the whole bit. So he's calling it out, so everybody knows. They're looking. Then they know that I'm crawling up on them on the middle. So 3/4 way through the game, I get all the way up on their side of the field, right up to the entry, right up to the top of where that creek bed drops in. There's a small little log there, and I crawl up to it. And these guys don't even know I'm there. I have no idea. And I look over, yeah. I slide over and look to the right-hand side, and I can see them lined up in the ditch, and they're looking, running back and forth and speaking English and yeah, all over the place, and I start dropping balls in it, but I don't want nobody to know where I'm at. So I shoot 2 or 3 of them, one ball in them over on the right and get a few G's. And that's about all I can do, So then I start focusing on the left-hand side because I know Brian's up there really close. And the left-hand side is the spectator side. That's where the dead man boxes are, all that stuff. Well, they're dead man box. And it's getting close to time. I can hear Clayton, I can hear Daryl, I can hear, Bobby, all the guys putting together the push. They're all putting it together. Brian's right over there, he's right up in their face. They get ready to call right when I know the push is going to happen. I stand up and run at a diagonal angle towards that left-hand side where that push is going to happen. So my whole thought is I want to lead this thing, drop into this gully, draw some guns, and then these guys can go. And the most memorable part about it is I come over the top, I bunker the first guy, I just get handed to me. I just get mowed, just shot 10 times. I'm, it's down a hill. I'm carrying through the motion. I'm hit, but I'm still moving forward. And it was all like slow motion. And all I can remember is getting shot, looking up, and their dead man's box was right there. And there was probably 3 or 4 guys in there. And the look on their eyes was happiness at first, smiles because they just smoked me. And then instantly turned to, oh my God, we're getting our ass kicked.
Whoosh.
Yep.
Here come the men. Yeah.
Yep. Everybody. And I didn't even look, I didn't even have to look over my shoulder. I'm just looking at them and the expressions on their face when basically about 8 guys are running right over the top of that hill all at the same time. It was incredible.
Yeah. Man, I got goosebumps with that story. And for those that don't know, Dirk could see their expressions because back then, it was just over the eyes, and that was optional too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. We won a lot of tournaments. I won a total of 8 championships, series championships. Most of them pro, a couple of them 5-man pro, 1 amateur with the second team when I was running that with Telford and Dave Cook and a lot of these other guys. Later on when we had a second team. But I will tell you that out of all the highlights through my career, I think that was huge. That was a big one. So
yeah, that's a great story too. Because as a paintball player, when you're telling me these things, it's like I can't help but put myself in the position and feel the feelings, like crawling up undetected, and then you see like all these openings, and you got all these choices, and it's like
you do a lot of that
with the paintballs.
Yeah. You've got that game in you, because I noticed that in Maryland that you play a lot of those blind spots. You get the good woods ball players, they can go out there and they can find spots to play where there's not even cover. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They can find it. Yeah. So
it's the tree drill.
That's what
it's called.
Yeah.
Or you find like a low elevation where you're not actually, like, you're in the open, but just because the elevation's different on the other side, they can't actually see you.
They can't see it. Yeah. I have no idea.
I think these are only things that you learn in the woods, and thankfully that's where I started playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dirk, who's been your favorite teammate over the years?
Favorite teammate? That's tough. I mean, like I said, when I got on with the first team, they were all my favorite teammates. You know, every single one of them. I can't narrow it down to one. You know, I'm gonna say every guy that every one of those core guys. You know, like I said, there was a few guys that bounced in and out, but every single one of them I have respect for, and every single one of them would take the shirt off their back to give it to me or give it to somebody. And I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that question.
How about, okay, let's do this. Over the years, and it doesn't have to be a teammate, right? Just over the years, from start of your career until today, if you could pick one player that you really love to watch, who would it be?
I love to watch?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. It's when I first started, as far as watching players and guys that I wanted to be like, I would say early on before the Ironman, it was some of the Lords of Discipline guys, Spud, Cope, those guys. You know,
Jackson?
Oh yeah. Before it became Aftershock, you know, those guys were animals. You know, those are the guys that I looked up to before I was pro, and that's what I wanted to do. Seen them in the magazines, watched them play. Those are the guys that I wanted to be. Later on, you know, like I said, on our team, every one of these guys, Brian was phenomenal. Shaner was phenomenal. Daryl Trent, that guy would stick his tongue out and break 10 balls in a game and still heat seek people and get 3 or 4 kills. You know what I'm saying? Bob Long, Bobby just knew how to walk fields. He knew how to scheme things, you know? So each one of them had their own thing. And I respected the ability of every single one of them. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, Jamie Cannavaro, you know, he doesn't get enough credit, but that guy was a rock. You know, he was one of the best back players that ever played the game. Absolutely. Never died. Good communication. Knew when it was time to go. Clayton Kyle, unbelievable, you know. So it's for that era, I would have a really difficult time of saying, you know, these were the players that I thought, you know, that I idolized, because we were all at the same level. We were all really good. But prior to that, you know, when you're an amateur, it's a lot easier to say that, you know. And I would say, you know, with some of those Lords of Discipline guys, some of the early Terminators, Florida Terminators, the skills were unbelievable, you know, incredible. So,
yeah, I imagine it would be hard to pick one, because I mean, every person that you played with is a bona fide paintball legend, like, through and through.
Yeah.
So how do you pick, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you do it? You know, how do you say one and leave out all the rest of them? You know what I'm saying?
I guess
you can't.
You
can't. Like I said, so what? The only way I can kind of do it is say, hey, look, when I played in this era, you know, I was one of them, and they were all one of them also. But you know, prior to that, you know what I'm saying? So.
Well, Dirk, I've had the pleasure of you opening up your house to me, and you took such good care of me. And one of the first things that I nerded out on was your wall of paintball guns. Like, you got amazing paintball guns on your wall, and I mean, you've never sold any guns. They all have nostalgia. But what would you say, out of all your paintball memorabilia that you have, what is your most cherished item?
Nickel Ironman cocker.
Where can you get it? Is it there?
Yeah.
Got it.
These were given to us from Bud.
Oh man.
Factory.
That's badass. Take off the shroud. Yeah. Let's get a close up on the pneumatics there. So tell us about that one.
Well, they were factory built. You know, I mean, there must have been only 12 of them made. And I think at the time, Bud only did factory guns for like 3 teams, us, Navarone, and I think it was a Marine team, one or Marine team. They had factory guns, but everybody else basically, they would take their guns and, strip them down and build their own team guns or, customize their individual stuff, you know what I'm saying? But, and Bud only sold them as, whatever they came. But these were factory guns where he took 12 guns, built them the way he wanted to for your team and handed them out. So, wow. Yeah, that one's, to me, it's priceless. I use that marker most of the time, through the years, and it's definitely the most valuable. There's a few. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's more of them out there, I mean, I've seen Clayton's, I've seen Shane's. I think Marty still has his. Bob's is floating around out there. They're out there. So yeah, that's definitely the most valuable.
Someone said to you, Dirk, I will give you $5,000 for that gun.
No, thank you.
Yeah. I will give you $10,000 for that gun. What would you say?
I don't think I would do it. I think I'd hand it over to my kids or take it to my grave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love it. That's a good one. Well, Dirk, what advice would you give to someone coming up in paintball, trying to reach the top? I mean, because you were at the top. Like what if you could go back and give Dirk from 1985 some advice, what would you say?
Well, I don't know about what I would change in 1985 or even in the early 90s. But advice for players now. And I'm not an X-ball guy. I don't come off as that. That's part of the reason why, it was a big decision when I left. It was partially that, they started playing mounds and they started playing hyperball, which was okay. But, the rumor was they were going to start doing this airball thing. And that wasn't for me. So that was part of the decision. But, and so I don't come off as being, experienced to that. But what I do see, and the advice that I would give, newer players is to be versatile. Play every format that there is out there. You look at some of these guys with Dynasty, some of these guys that are in their 30s, early 40s, late 20s. And there's one common denominator with a lot of the top pro players is that you can give them a slingshot and put them out on a woods ball field or any field, and they're going to shoot people. They're just good at everything. And I think that there's too much focus sometimes on just the X-ball game, that it kind of narrows down, their ability and their skill set. They're really good at the snap shooting. They're really good on the turf. They're really good athletes. But, you watch the finals with the pros, and it seems like statistically it ends up being the guys that come out on top are the vets. These guys that have a well-rounded, repertoire of abilities, and it's kind of like, I just encourage them to own a pump gun, to own a mechanical gun, go out and get out of your comfort zone and do different things that are just not the same thing that you do day in and day out. And it'll add to your game, at certain times, at certain points in the game, even in an X-ball game, you might get on the ground and crawl. I mean, Rainey's like laying on the ground and going underneath bunkers and hiding, what I'm saying? There's things that you can do, and only those crafty players come up with that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I would say. That's the thing I see that's missing from today's sport. And I just don't think that there's enough focus on it. Shane and Paxton brought out the men for that last tournament, and his new squad, and we had this discussion, and he said that that's part of it. It's camaraderie and getting them out there and playing them in 10-man, but it was also getting them out of their comfort zone and getting them doing something else that's different than what they do every weekend.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Shane's been doing that. In fact, when Shane was captain of the Ironman when I was on the team, we had players that actually never played woods before. They never even played hyperball. All they've been exposed to is airball. And I remember there was a practice where he made us go out to a velocity paintball and practice in the woods, because I'm sure he believed, and I believe, that there's skill sets that you can pick up in the woods that are unattainable on the airball field. You start to you can recognize where paintballs are coming in at, and you can listen to the sound signature of your opponent's guns and determine where they might be. And there's a lot of skill sets that you can only gain by playing that style of paintball.
Yeah, being sneaky. You know what I'm saying?
Being sneaky. That's it. Thank you. It's being sneaky, and a lot of players don't know how to do that because they don't have to. You don't necessarily need to do that, right? It's just a quick move, boom, 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 and you trade out or get someone. But being sneaky, outsmarting your opponent, is a skill set that you can, I guess, it's amplified in
absolutely
style.
Yeah, and I've literally had guys say, I've overheard the conversations. Why would I do that when I'm not going to ever do that? But that's the problem, is you put yourself into this narrow, window of skills that you practice on a regular basis, and then you go all the way to the finals, and then you go up against some guy that's crafty as hell, and he steps outside the box and he just works you, man. And you're walking off the field. You're walking off the field frustrating, going, what the hell's going on? I'm the best at this, but I'm just getting worked by this fool. And the reason is he's outsmarting you, man. He's taking you out of the game, and he's outsmarting you.
Like you said, statistically, the people that are winning NXL events, I mean, let's just say them. It's dynasty. And where did those kids grow up playing? The core of that team that's still around today. Where did they grow up playing? Mare Island.
Mare Island. Yeah.
So it's almost like this point is beyond contestation. It's like it's clear. So hopefully more newer players that are only exposed to airball start to get exposed more to different styles of paintball, because it really rounds out your skills.
Absolutely, 100%.
Well, Dirk, over the past many years, 3 decades, it's been 3 decades, over 3 decades. What would you say that you're most thankful for that paintball's given you?
Most thankful for? Oh, boy. Camaraderie.
Yeah.
Lifetime relationships.
Yeah.
Brotherhood.
Absolutely.
Respect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The friendships and well, camaraderie is a stronger word because it's a different type of friendship, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's like, I got your back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with this, we're going to go through this together.
Yeah. It's funny. The respect. I went and played last year with the All-Americans at the, the upstate New York. Me and Dave went the upstate New York tournament. And, we've been sponsored by, Smart Parts for some time with Adam. And that was, what I mean? And Ironmen and All-Americans, that was,
rivalry.
That was oil and water, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the car in the back seat with Adam Gardner driving to the field. He's, he was like, it's kind of weird. I go, it's kind of weird. But the respect, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you didn't have that competition and those kind of things going on back in the 90s, and that kind of those fierce games and that rivalry going, it wouldn't be worth doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But, years later, you still, there's a certain amount of respect there. You know what I'm saying? And it's, you get along off the field, you respect everybody's ability and what we went through as players. And It was fun, dude. I'll tell you, I had one of the greatest times of my life hanging out with one of the number one adversaries in my career.
And you guys won.
Oh
So
yeah, man. We kicked
that
ass
helps. That that helps
from
the
start to
bond, right?
finish. From start to finish, it was fun.
Awesome.
So yeah, and you can only build
Dirk,
that, by playing paintball as long as I have and those relationships. So
well, it's inspiring. It's certainly inspiring for me. Like it gives me confidence that I can have a long career in paintball. Because I mean, it's not that you're that much older than me, but you're older than me, and the fact that you're still
absolutely.
doing it at a highly competitive level, that's inspiring for me because I want to play this game forever.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dirk. Thank you for your time here. Is there anything that you want to part with for the paintball community?
No, I'll see you on the field.
Right on. Thanks, buddy.
Take care.